Australia. A vast island continent, a bewitching combination of tropical rainforests, arid plains, lush grasslands and beautiful coastline. Secluded over millions of years, it's evolved its own unique animal species. And if there's one that is the country's unchallenged icon, it's the koala. A cuddly-looking bear-like marsupial, best known for eucalyptus eating, pouch rearing, and above all, for sleeping. But these tranquil tree huggers have a hidden side. Capable of feats of agility, they're able to make a noise to rival an elephant. And they can move surprisingly fast when it's time to fight. This is the secret life of the koala. North Stradbroke Island in Queensland, Australia. It's a subtropical paradise and home to a wide variety of birds and wildlife. Curled up in a tree are Wendy and her baby Bo. They're among a number of koalas across the east and southeast of Australia, which are named and monitored by conservationists who are tracking their often vulnerable populations. Very distantly related to the kangaroo, the koala is a marsupial, meaning that its young are born after a short gestation and then develop in the pouch. Once out of the pouch, a koala baby, known as a joey, will stay with its mother until it's ready to become independent, at around a year. Bo will still take milk from her mother until she's 12 months old, but she's already eating eucalyptus too. Wendy looks like a small bear with her short limbs, chunky body and thick fur. While her nose is particularly large, her eyes are small and forward-facing. Koalas don't have good eyesight. Her pupils have vertical slits, which are unusual for marsupials. In the middle of the day, Wendy and Bo are doing what koalas do best: sleeping. As tree-dwelling marsupials, koalas spend their whole lives off the ground, eating and sleeping in the eucalyptus, also known as gum trees. Their reputation for always being asleep is not unfounded. Koalas sleep between 18 and 21 hours a day. Activity levels are closely related to their low-energy diet, and that only allows for a few hours awake each day. Koalas are mostly nocturnal, and it's only towards dusk that they'll move to start eating. As folivores, koalas are one of the few species that eat only leaves. It means they have a tight energy budget. The leaves of plants contain low concentrations of nutrients, so they need to eat a lot of leaves to give them the energy they need. And because the plants are extremely hard to digest, it takes the koalas a long time to get that energy. A koala expends only a third of the energy that a placental mammal would. Only sloths and pandas expend less energy. Eucalyptus leaves are not only low in nutrients, but contain chemical compounds which make them toxic to most animals. For years, it was thought that the koalas were sleeping off the intoxicating effects of the gum leaves they eat, but this isn't true. Koalas have one of the largest digestive tracts of any herbivore, with a 2-metre-long gut packed with super microorganisms that can detoxify the leaves. But that uses a lot of their precious energy. Their bodies must work hard to ensure their survival on this diet. So koalas have adapted their behaviour to ensure that they use as little energy as possible. Most of the time, they only move very slowly. And the best way of conserving energy is, of course, plenty of rest. Often when koalas seem to be asleep, they're actually just resting. It's known as rest alert. They can be completely still, but using their strong sense of hearing to remain aware of what's going on around them. Koalas often sleep and feed in the same tree, though they do change trees too. Bo will ride on Wendy's back, clinging on with the same claws that make Wendy well equipped for climbing. Koalas have extremely sharp nails, essential to grip smooth-barked gum trees. Their large forepaws have strongly curved talons. Koalas also have a forcipate hand with 2 thumbs. These double thumbs can help them grab small branches. Koalas have rough pads on their palms and soles to help grip. They're the only non-primates to have human-like fingerprints. Despite their reputation as Australia's best-known animals, koala populations are only found in the east and southeast parts of the country. And although they live in a wide range of forests, from arid to temperate to tropical, their populations are often isolated from each other by areas of unsuitable habitat. High up on the hills of Monaro in southern New South Wales, not far from Australia's famous snowy mountains, the climate is cooler and more temperate than Queensland. It's a big day for one young koala. Jimmy is returning to the wild after being rehabilitated. He's an orphan koala whose life was saved by conservationists. He was found abandoned by his mother at only a few months old and was close to starvation. Now, at 18 months, he's gained enough weight to survive on his own. He's had a small tree to practice on, but this is his first chance to put his climbing skills to the test. And it'll take time to build up his climbing muscles to full strength. Jimmy's instincts quickly kick in. But there's still a lot to explore. And he's uncertain. He needs to work out whether this is the right tree to be in. Koalas need to ensure they obtain as much energy as possible by choosing the best quality food. So they select the trees that they eat from and the leaves they eat with great care. There are more than 700 varieties of eucalyptus in Australia, but koalas will only eat between 40 and 50 of these, depending on the area, and their preferred trees may be as few as 10. It's not widely understood why a koala will choose one tree over another. Jimmy may choose different leaves to eat at different times of the year, perhaps due to the varying levels of toxicity in the leaves. But if Jimmy doesn't like the tree he's in, that means doing something potentially risky. Coming down to the ground. Koalas tend not to come down out of the safety of the trees during daylight hours. The minute he's on the forest floor, Jimmy increases his risk of being attacked by a wild dog, a snake, or a lizard. Koalas have poor eyesight, and Jimmy's eyes may not be good enough for him to spot a 1-metre goanna moving stealthily through the undergrowth. These carnivorous lizards can easily eat a young koala. Jimmy hasn't had a mother to teach him during the important early adolescent months, and he seems unaware of how vulnerable he is. Luckily, he moves out of harm's way just in time. A goanna can climb but isn't as agile off the ground as a koala, even one who's new to the trees. Once Jimmy has settled on a tree, he starts eating. The amount of leaves a koala needs will depend on its size. A large male can eat up to 500 grams of leaves a day. Koala feeding always follows the same routine. He grasps a small branch with his forepaw, then carefully sniffs the leaf before eating it, only choosing to eat the very best leaves. Koalas use their highly developed sense of smell to differentiate between types of eucalyptus leaves and their level of toxicity. A koala's digestive process also relies heavily on the mouth and teeth. They will select a leaf at a time and use the incisors at the front of the mouth to position the leaf, then use powerful molars to shear it into very small pieces. Koalas have a gap between their molars and incisors called a diastema, which enables them to push the bulky leaves around their mouths. They can also store leaves in pouches in their cheeks to eat later. Jimmy will also need to establish his home range, the area where he'll find food or mates. Each koala's home range is made up of a number of trees, which the koala will visit regularly. And the size of a home range will be dictated by the number of edible trees. Koalas are solitary animals. They can't afford to expend energy on socialising. So apart from mating season or raising joeys, they will spend most of their lives alone. They share the trees with the common ring-tailed possum. These marsupials like to eat the foliage, flowers and fruit from shrubs as well as young eucalyptus leaves. But the koala's home ranges will overlap with each other so they can mate. In each area, there will be a dominant male who can see off younger males, especially during breeding season. Cape Otway, at the tip of Victoria in South Australia, is made up of temperate rainforest. Its southernmost position on the Australian mainland means that it's cooler and wetter than other parts of the country. There's a high density of koalas here. In one small pocket of land, there are around 9 adult koalas per hectare. Many of them are being studied by scientists and wear collars which collect data on their behaviour. Samson is an older, dominant male. As a koala living in Victoria, he's double the size of males from further north, where the climate is more tropical. Male koalas koalas here often weigh more than 14 kilos. Samson has darker fur and a thicker coat, better suited to the far cooler climes of the southeast of the country. Samson's in a tree where there's clearly nothing to eat, most likely checking for the scent of another male. A koala male is not territorial in the sense of defending space, but in areas where there is a high density of koalas, an older male will show a dominance hierarchy by marking any tree he enters. Each male koala has his own pungent aroma and scent marks with a special gland on his chest. It's a form of communication to advertise his presence to other koalas, both to attract females and to warn off other males. He needs to expend valuable energy to continue to assert his claim to breeding. Having checked out the tree, Samson descends. Compared to Jimmy, his descent is far more agile. He's also better equipped to defend himself. He's easily as heavy as a large fox and can fight off smaller animals. But even Samson needs to move swiftly through the ferns. He can shin up the bark with gravity-defying skill. He's got a powerful upper body, and his front and hind limbs are nearly equal in length. His thigh muscle joins the shin much lower than in many other mammals, which helps boost his climbing strength. Samson hasn't just got a big body, he's got a big voice too. This noise is known as a bellow, and it's both to call to females and to warn other males of his presence in the area. Koalas may be relatively small animals, but their bellow is huge. Unlike any other land mammal, they have an extra pair of vocal folds just outside the larynx, which create this low-pitched sound by inhaling and exhaling continuously. The frequency of these sounds is much lower than those usually made by small mammals. It's more characteristic of an animal the size of an elephant. Low-frequency sounds also travel further, and a koala's bellow can announce his presence up to 1 kilometre away. It's a way of advertising his size without expending too much energy. The lower the call, the bigger the male. And females prefer larger mates. The high-density koala population in this part of Cape Otway means that the koalas will have smaller home ranges, so there's more competition between males for the same females. Solomon is a large male who'll want to mate any females in his home range, and he'll be aggressive to any other male he thinks is encroaching. An intruder is chancing his luck. but Solomon picks up his scent and is coming after him. Fighting males can inflict nasty injuries on each other, which may even result in death. This may be one reason why male koalas have a shorter life expectancy than females. And now the intruding male needs to get away, fast. The intruder manages to escape into a tree and hides out there. Keeping out of the way of aggressive older males is important for Jimmy. As a newcomer, he could be vulnerable to attack. He's making his way in the wild now, but is still indecisive about where he wants to be. Koalas are sometimes accused of stupidity, and it's true that in relative terms, koala brains are among the smallest of any marsupial. This may also be an adaptive response to a low-energy diet. But Jimmy's repeated change of direction is certainly not preserving energy. It's likely he's still finding the choices in his new environment overwhelming, and it may take him longer to settle. Being near the snowy mountains, this is one of the few parts of Australia that sees snow. And when some falls, Jimmy faces another new experience. Perhaps it's his curiosity that brings him down to the ground to explore. In the coastal areas where most koalas live, they don't have to deal with snow, but they do have to cope with inclement weather. When the wind picks up, they can keep on eating. They have no trouble clinging on through a gusty night. Up in Queensland, North Stradbroke Island is regularly hit by offshore winds. Wendy holds Bo tight to shield her from a subtropical storm. Both Mother and Joey's thick fur protects them. Wind may not trouble them, but if it's raining, the koalas won't feed. To conserve energy and protect themselves from the cold, they remain curled up in a tight ball, legs drawn up against their bellies. In southeast Australia, Cape Otway also has frequent and plentiful rainfall. Victoria has a temperate climate. In winter, it rains almost half of the days, and temperatures can get close to freezing point. The koalas here are sitting out the rain too. Victorian koalas have the thickest coats of any marsupial, with a really dense waterproof underfur. This ensures they don't get hypothermia when out weathering a storm. As the storm passes, the drenched koalas dry their coats off in the sun. Koalas have extra thick fur on their backsides, which acts like padding against the hard branches. This fur is dappled with white patches, camouflaging them well from would-be predators. The position koalas adopt for sleep also depends on the weather. When it's warm, they extend their limbs to hang either side of the tree. And when it gets really hot, scientists think the koalas hug the trees to control their temperature. Trees are cooled by the roots sucking up water from underground. Koalas don't sweat and almost never drink, so tree hugging may prevent them from losing water. But koalas have to cope with far more than the vagaries of the weather. They're so highly specialised to eat particular varieties of eucalyptus in very specific areas that this can cause them problems. The koalas of Cape Otway prefer a species of eucalyptus known as a manna gum. The number of koalas in an area depends on how much potential food there is, and it would appear that the manna gums over this vast expanse of land are in plentiful supply. But there are so many koalas here that they're putting too much pressure on their own resources. Koalas have a preference for the younger shoots, which are likely to be less toxic and are easier to digest. And this leads to them over-browsing the trees. Constant eating of the new shoots puts too much pressure on the trees to produce new leaves from their root reserves, rather than through the slower process of photosynthesis. This depletes the tree sugars and the trees die off early, thus limiting the koala's food supply. This means that in some parts of Victoria, the koalas are potentially facing starvation. It's thought there are several factors causing such overabundance of koalas at Cape Otway. Their love of manna gums, their reluctance to eat other trees, and the absence of many predators. But it means that koalas like Samson and Solomon may face being moved to a new territory as part of a government translocation program. But in other parts of the country, koala numbers are dwindling. And many populations have been affected by the presence of humans. Koalas and their immediate ancestors go as far back as 25 million years, but their numbers have declined sharply in the 228 years that Europeans have been in Australia. The early settlers hunted them almost to extinction for their warm fur. And now, the wide-scale clearing of forests to make way for human habitation is also having an impact. Koalas thrive in coastal areas where there's a more temperate climate and good quality soil to produce the best trees. But humans love these areas too. As infrastructure increases, what's good news for human economy can be bad news for koalas. In Queensland in North Australia, it's estimated that more than 500,000 hectares of land are cleared every year. Cashy and her joey, Polly, live in the Moreton Bay area. It's an area with dense subtropical forest, rich with tall eucalyptus trees, where the koalas can climb as high as 30 metres off the ground. But nearby bushland is being cleared to make way for a new railway line. Queensland koalas are classified as vulnerable. So this mother and joey are among 460 koalas the railway company monitors. All the koalas are fitted with radio collars so that they can be tracked using a transmitter. And their movements are logged. It's a way of working out whether their home ranges near to the construction site are being affected. It's likely that a koala maintains the same home range for life, moving between a number of different trees. So breaking up home ranges can have a highly disruptive effect. Koalas' preference for particular trees means that they can find it hard to establish themselves in a new area. And the more they have to move around, the greater the risk they face, especially from cars. All of the koalas in the project are captured every 6 months and given a health check. Today is Kashi and Polly's turn. They're taken to the vet, where Kashi is lightly sedated. Polly's allowed to stay sitting on her mum so that she won't be additionally stressed. She hasn't got powerful claws like her mother yet, so there's no need to sedate her. Kashi gets an ultrasound to check her internal organs and a thorough inspection for signs of disease. Chlamydia is an all too common disease affecting koalas. Mostly a different strain to the human variant, it can be sexually transmitted or passed from mother to baby. It can cause eye and urinary tract problems and infertility. About 1/5 of the koalas here have been successfully treated for chlamydial disease before being returned to the wild. Koalas are also being inoculated as part of a trial to find out whether a vaccine could be successful in the fight against chlamydia. Polly tries to delve into her mother's pouch to feed, but isn't getting very far. So there's nothing else she can do but join her mother in sleeping. They get the all clear and Kashi is awake. The veterinary team returns Mother and Joey to the same tree where they were found. Kashi wastes no time getting as far away from the trackers as she can. But not all koalas are so compliant in being captured for a health check. It's ample evidence of how fast a koala can move when he has to. And how well he can jump. But however nimble he is, koalas do sometimes fall from trees, so the researchers can't risk any more extreme moves. So he manages to avoid his health check for today. Being able to track the koala's movements on a day-by-day basis has given scientists extraordinarily detailed information about them and has revealed just how vulnerable they are. Over a 2-year period, almost half of the koalas monitored have died. Some of illness, but the majority of predation. Over half of those have been killed by wild dogs. These are not dogs of the backyard pet variety, but rather feral animals which have often interbred with dingoes and can be powerful hunters. But these aren't the only predators. The dense Queensland bush is full of snakes. The carpet python is between 2 and 4 meters long and can weigh up to 15 kilos. This semi-arboreal snake can easily climb to reach its prey. Its method of killing is suffocation. and it can stretch its jaws to swallow a koala whole. 14 of the Moreton Bay koalas are known to have met this fate, with one python found with the koala's transmitter intact inside its belly. It's the first time anyone has been able to measure predation like this, and reveals just how vulnerable the koalas are. But protecting the koalas here as much as possible and continuing to study them ensures their future will be more secure. Weather in the tropics of Queensland, the rugged terrain of New South Wales, or the forests of Cape Otway in Victoria. There's no doubt that life as a koala is full of challenges. These highly specialised tree-dwelling marsupials have to contend with predators, human interference, and a difficult diet. But koalas are also resilient and clinging on to survival. And after millions of years of existence, they're still letting their voices be heard. Australia, a vast island continent, a bewitching combination of tropical rainforests, arid plains, lush grasslands, and beautiful coastline. Secluded over millions of years, it's evolved its own unique animal species. And if there's one image that says Australia more than any other, it's the koala mother, with her baby, or Joey, clinging to her back. Raising their young in the treetops, these dedicated mums teach their babies all they need to survive. How to feed and climb, and the fine art of learning to jump. But breeding season is a brutal business, and koalas turn from peaceable loners into aggressors and defenders, fighting, biting, and shouting each other down. And the joeys get caught in the middle. This is the secret life of the koala. Cape Otway in Victoria is a large area of temperate forest at the southernmost tip of Australia. Home to a number of koalas. It's an idyllic spot with little human habitation and a haven for wildlife. The koalas are specialised to feed on the eucalyptus trees here, known as manna gums. It's a peaceful place for these marsupial mums to raise their pouch young, known as joeys. But in September, spring in Australia, the tranquility here is shattered. Because it's the start of breeding season. And large male Rocky is on the lookout for a mate. Rocky is one of a number of koalas being studied by researchers in Cape Otway. He wears a collar which gathers data about his movements and breeding activity. As the weather warms up in spring, male koalas' testosterone levels rise. And they begin to let out their bellowing mating calls. There's an abundance of koalas here. With many living in a relatively small area, breeding season is a competitive time. Males like Rocky and fellow large male Buster will all be on the trail of the same females. This can be an intense time for females, particularly those with joeys. Koalas have just one baby once a year. Breeding season lasts from September until December. Early in the season, it's possible for females to become pregnant again, while they're still caring for last year's young. Like all marsupials, a koala mum raises her joey in a pouch on her belly. Born after a very short pregnancy of just 35 days, the tiny joey crawls blind and hairless out of the birth canal and into the pouch, where it will feed and develop. It gets its first taste of the wide world outside when it emerges from the pouch at around 7 months. Once out, the joey clings tightly to its mother, always lying facing her, holding onto her with all 4 limbs. Wherever the mother climbs, her joey will go too. The joey has sharp claws and a vice-like grip that digs into mum's fur and stops it from falling. In the early days, the baby moves in and out of the pouch. Once it's larger, it sleeps in mum's lap, facing her belly, like this joey that's around 7 months old. At another study site in Queensland in North Australia, a koala mother, Willa, takes an important step. Her female joey, Bobby, clings onto her fur. As Willa turns to climb down, she leaves Bobby on the branch above her. She's teaching Bobby to climb. It's a nerve-wracking moment as the joey begins her uncertain descent. Like any mum standing with arms outstretched for a toddler, Willa waits as Bobby takes her vital first steps. Albeit backwards. She's back in Mum's arms, safe again. Until Bobby can climb confidently, she's completely dependent on her mum. Koalas are devoted mothers. Willa will teach Bobby everything the joey needs to learn to survive as a solitary, tree-dwelling marsupial. As summer approaches, Willa needs to help Bobby to move towards independence, because once breeding season is underway, their time together could be limited. Joeys take milk from their mum's pouches for around 12 months, usually sitting on their mother's laps to feed. As the joey grows, the mother's teat will elongate, so it sometimes protrudes from the pouch opening. Before she can breed again, a koala mum needs her joey to wean. But it's not easy eating eucalyptus. These tough and fibrous leaves contain a variety of chemical compounds that make them toxic. Digesting the leaves takes up a huge amount of the koala's energy, which is why they need to sleep so much. Eucalyptus is too tough for a young joey's system to handle until it has the right microorganisms in its gut. It gets these directly from its mother in a rather unusual way. When the joey's between 5 and 7 months old, mum produces a special kind of poop, known as pap, which the baby eats. It contains all the bacteria it needs for digesting eucalyptus leaves. Not long after eating its first pap meal, the joey develops powerful premolars and is ready to make its first attempt at eating leaves. Willa is showing Bobby the ropes. Koalas are famously choosy about the varieties of eucalyptus they'll eat. It's likely they select leaves depending on the levels of toxicity. And it's thought that joeys inherit their mum's food choices. But it takes skill learning how to find the best leaves while clinging on with the other paw. By the time she's 12 months, Bobby will be fully weaned and can feed entirely on eucalyptus foliage. In Cape Otway in Victoria, youngster Theo is around 9 months old. He's permanently out of the pouch and more confident in his movements than a younger joey. He's now what's known as a back rider and usually travels around sitting high up on his mum, Jasmine. Theo's learning to gradually make longer trips away from Jasmine, exploring the branches nearby, while looking to Mum for reassurance. He can't always decide between the temptations of striking out on his own and Jasmine's comforting back. These early months of increasing independence are not without risk. A powerful owl or wedge-tailed eagle could pluck him straight out of the trees. And there are other risks for Theo which are closer to home. The forest is full of males with designs on his mother. The trees are alive with the calls of male koalas, looking for love. Some of Australia's indigenous people call the koala coo-baw, an imitation of the noise of the male's call. Early settlers in Australia were terrified by this sound, ringing out through the night air. They thought it might be lions. Even today, unsuspecting tourists camping in koala country can be unnerved by these deep, guttural roars. Koala males make this reverberating noise by inhaling and exhaling at the same time. With his deep voice, Rocky can make himself sound far bigger than he is, a useful way of attracting females and intimidating his rivals. It enables him to advertise his best features without having to move too far. As a eucalyptus-eating folivore, Rocky has a low-energy lifestyle and needs a lot of rest. This loud bellowing saves him from expending unnecessary energy while he's looking for a mate. And it tells other koalas where to find him. Research has found that females prefer to mate with bigger males. So these females will evaluate Rocky's sex appeal based on how much of a racket he makes. Koalas are sexually dimorphic, meaning there are physical differences between the genders. While the females have pouches, the males are much larger and have distinctive scent glands on their chests. Rocky uses the large, moist scent gland as his calling card. As he climbs, he rubs his sternum against the trunk or branch of the tree, smearing his scent for 1 or 2 metres along it. As he descends, Rocky also dribbles his urine along the branches to pack an extra aromatic punch. Koalas have a powerful sense of smell, and it's through scent that they can pass mating messages to nearby females. Male koalas can also detect the smell of each other and work out when it's better to keep away. In some parts of the country, koala populations are dwindling and the koala's home ranges can be large. Males may have to travel long distances in their search for a mate. But here in Cape Otway, there's a high density of up to 9 adults per hectare. So it's harder for males to maintain distinctive territory, and every mate is hard won. Rocky sniffs carefully to detect female scent. A female's urine will be full of hormonal information about whether or not she's ready to mate, and will encourage competition between males. Once a male gets a whiff of a female he likes the smell of, he'll approach. But for a smaller male, pursuing a female in this intense environment can be tough. Teenage koala Simon picks up a pleasant smell in the tree. Koalas don't have good eyesight, so he uses his smell to guide him. Excited by the scent, he moves quickly through the branches to find her. But in his eagerness, he doesn't seem to realise that he's encroaching on the territory of a larger male, Buster. Oblivious to anything but the alluring smell, Simon doesn't hear Buster behind him. Young Simon has nowhere to go but onto thinner branches. He's trapped. Buster's keen to get to him, but he knows instinctively that the branch won't take his weight. Simon gives out small cries of fear. He's forced to sit it out and wait for Buster to retreat. Unwilling to release the young male, Buster keeps edging forward. Before he eventually moves back and reasserts his dominance more safely. Buster's bellow isn't just for the benefit of the ladies. It's also a warning to other males to keep away. The latest research suggests that koalas actually use their bellow as a way of avoiding a fight. Another male can work out from afar how big Buster is and decide whether it could be worth taking him on, or whether to steer clear. Simon should have listened before he ventured into Buster's turf. Buster eventually descends. Simon has had a lucky escape. He may think twice about approaching that female again. But even when a big male like Buster has detected the presence of an attractive female, there's no guarantee she'll be interested in him. This female's bellowing means, "Leave me alone." She'll only mate once per breeding season. And in an area like this, with so many males, she can be more picky about her potential mate. If she has already copulated, she won't want to again. But making this noise has a downside. Another male hears her and follows her bellows to mount his own challenge for her. A dominant male like Rocky isn't going to wait for a female to choose him. He's on the prowl, determined to mate. Most male mammals will pursue females when they're in estrus or on heat. But this doesn't seem to be the case with koalas. They're not aggressive animals at other times of the year, but when Rocky's hormones are raging, he'll attempt to mate with a female, whether she's ready or not. Rocky attacks a female in a bid to mate her. She fights tooth and nail to stop him and manages to fend him off. An ardent male can be vicious, biting or even pulling the female out of the tree. After the attack, both signal their discontent. Rocky bellows to reinforce his point, and she keeps up the distress cries. But what looks like unpleasant sexual aggression actually has a purpose. It's thought that attempted matings, even unsuccessful ones, can bring the female into estrus and make her ready to mate. Researchers think that it may take repeated attempts before she becomes receptive, and that ovulation could be induced by coital stimulation. It might not seem like the most attractive chat-up move, but attempting copulation with a female might be a good way for Rocky to introduce himself. She may be more likely to choose him when she does come into estrus. For now, this female shows no sign of changing her mind. Rocky's a powerful male, but if she can fight him off easily, she may not consider him her ideal mate. Undeterred by his failed encounter with the other female, Rocky now sets his sights on Jasmine. Even though she has Theo on her back, this won't put him off trying to mate her. Rocky's still a formidable prospect. He's missing a claw, most likely from fighting. It could have been ripped out by another male, or from making an ill-judged jump to get away. He may have detected that Jasmine is close to estrus, so he'll do everything in his power to keep her to himself, which means aggressively guarding her. Jasmine and Theo feed, while he sleeps nearby. While there are still plenty of leaves in this tree, she will eventually need to descend. But he's effectively blocking the branch, so she can't move down. Rocky stays in the same tree, guarding Jasmine for several days and nights. When he awakes, getting to Jasmine is the only thing on his mind, whether she's in estrus or not. And now Theo is at risk. So far, the presence of a large male nearby hasn't bothered the joey. But as Rocky approaches, he becomes distressed and starts to make small, frightened noises. Jasmine can only look on as the large male sniffs at her baby. But her small squeaks betray her anxiety. Males on a mission to mate can be callous towards joeys and even push them out of the trees. Theo tries to move away from Rocky, but the branch is too small for him to go further. Rocky keeps sniffing and pawing at the frightened youngster. When Rocky becomes distracted by smelling the branch, Theo makes a mad dash back to Mum. But it's now that Rocky moves in. This time, Theo makes good his escape. Rocky seizes his chance and closes in on Jasmine. Jasmine fends him off with yowls and scratches and even bites him on the head. male often bellows after a failed attempt at mating, perhaps in frustration or as a way of telling the female what she's missing. And for Rocky, that's 2 rejections to complain about. But he doesn't force himself on her again. Theo continues eating in peace, and Rocky collapses with fatigue after his brief bout of activity. For an animal with little energy to expend, a violent encounter is exhausting. Jasmine doesn't seem too bothered by his continued presence. She doesn't move away when he drops off to sleep. It could be that his prolonged proximity has made him seem less threatening. Or she may be approaching estrus and slowly coming round to him. Soon all 3 are asleep in the tree together. But not all males in the forest at Cape Otway are so patient. Buster's on a mission, making his way through the trees. His sense of smell is working overtime. He smells and marks as he goes. One branch he climbs onto already has a resident male. But this one doesn't fancy taking on a dominant rival and makes himself scarce without a peep. Buster keeps going. He's detected a female he's definitely interested in and is prepared to cover some territory to get to her. Nothing's going to stand in his way. Even if she's in another tree, Buster uses his powerful claws to grip the bark. His muscular legs and upper body strength help him to shin up an almost vertical trunk. Then he homes in on a female known as Julia and lets her know his intentions. Julia, who has a young female Joey with her, bellows back to tell him she's not interested. Buster stands guard while Julia does her best to ignore him. The Joey looks on, bemused. Then Julia tries to quietly slink away. But Buster's in hot pursuit. He drops below her. The Joey leaps away as he tries to grab Julia to mate her from behind. Julia succeeds in fending him off. But there's a problem. Now Buster's between Julia and her Joey. And the little female has no way of escape. If she falls to the ground, she may well die. And if the fall doesn't kill her, predators might. Julia looks around for her youngster. She tries to climb. But Buster's blocking her. But Joey needs to find a way back to her mum. This could be the furthest she's ever been from her side. The scared Joey makes her way halfway back down. But Buster moves up. Now he's placed between mother and baby in a terrifying standoff. Desperate for warmth and comfort, the little Joey inches along the branch to get to her mother. She's clearly terrified as Buster sniffs at her. But then, something extraordinary happens. Despite her apparent fear, the baby climbs onto Buster's back. It's thought that a Joey won't recognise its mother's scent until it's 10 months old. In her desire for refuge, she's made a terrible mistake. Any sudden move he makes and she could be thrown off. Luckily, Buster tolerates her presence. He may be growing weary after expending a huge amount of energy attacking Julia. But when he starts to bellow again, the baby realises she's got to escape. The frightened Joey still needs to bridge a huge gap to get back to her mum. All Julia can do is sit still, powerless to help. If she moves any closer, Buster may grab her again. But the large male won't care if her baby falls. Time for this novice climber to take her chances. She has second thoughts. Then summons the courage to try again. It's a precarious journey along the branches towards mum and safety. reunited at last. As soon as she's got her baby back, Julia moves further up the tree and away from Buster's amorous advances. Across the forest, Rocky, Jasmine and Theo are still happily sharing a tree. Rocky's patient guarding and earlier mating attempt appear to have done the trick. Finally, under the cover of darkness, the two adults mate. Mating lasts as little as 2 minutes before Rocky's job is done, and they go their separate ways. After mating with Rocky, Jasmine could have another Joey in her pouch in just over a month's time. When that happens, youngster Theo will need to move on. Jasmine encourages him to spend more time off her back. And she stops letting him feed so that he weans. Theo tries to get to Jasmine's pouch. But her refusal forces him to look for leaves. When Jasmine decides that it's time for Theo to go, she stops him from riding on her back completely. She turns her back on her Joey to signal that she's losing interest. This may be her way of encouraging her youngster to find his own home range. While a female Joey can stay living near to her mum, Theo will have to travel further away to find a territory. It's why young males are so much at risk. They have to find a home range of their own while avoiding aggressive older males. Theo won't reach sexual maturity until he's 4 and weighs around 12 kilos. He'll need to be big enough to stand up to a large rival before he can mate. Meanwhile, Julia's Joey isn't facing weaning yet. If Julia doesn't breed this year, the baby will be able to stay with her mum for longer and will have a greater chance of survival when she does go it alone. For now, Mum and Joey are steering clear of males and are moving through the trees together. And Buster, he's still prowling the forest, looking for a mate. In another month, breeding season will be at an end. The koalas will return to their customary solitary lives once more. And peace will be restored to the forest.